Hello watch enthusiasts. Now today I'd like to do a collection review of a viewer by the name of Marc, who sent me his collection along with a question which I've answered for him. Today I'd like to go over what he has and the interesting range of watches which he owns. Now, as you can see in the photograph, this is the collection which Marc owns, and I shall go from the top left-hand corner to the bottom right-hand corner. And cover all the watches in the collection. Now, I would like to point out that a lot of these watches are very rare, and I was unable to find the exact models in terms of close-up photographs. So as a result, I've found similar models for some of them. For example, the Larco, which you own, Marc, is a very rare 50s watch, and I've been unable to find a photograph of the actual model itself, so I've used a different photograph instead. Now, this is quite an interesting piece, actually. So, in 1967, Omega made, if I'm not very much mistaken, this watch is a 9-carat gold Seamaster DeVille. And it has quite an interesting 24 jewel caliber 552 Inca block shock-protected movement, which had an interesting quirk of having 5.5 beats per second rather than 6 or 8, which are the usual numbers, or the 7 which Omega have become known for these days. I must say this is a beautiful piece, and these watches did combine the elegance of a dress watch with some of the more resistant qualities of the Seamaster range. Now, the next watch, which is at the top of your collection, is the Breitling Colt chronograph, and this is the quartz version. This also is actually a very interesting and attractive watch, with all the sort of the traditional design cues on a Breitling sports watch. Now, you say in your email to me that this is your most accurate watch, and this doesn't surprise me at all. These quartz movements from Breitling are known for being extremely high quality and keeping superb time. Now, this watch is also very useful in terms of being a sports watch, because it has both a bezel and a chronograph function. Another attractive feature of this watch is the fact that it is water resistant to 100 meters, meaning that it's very resistant to the elements. Now, this next watch is one which always makes me smile, because I remember as a child one of my friends bringing it in because it was his dad's watch. Bringing it into school, and I remember thinking it was a really beautiful piece. And this is the quartz Hamilton khaki. And yes, it's not automatic, or mechanical, so it does get some flack from some people, but these are fantastic field watches, and they're very rugged and resistant. As you say, Marc, in your email to me, used in the garden, around the house, and frankly, these watches are superb for that purpose. They're very legible and very well made. These watches do also have a certain history, because they were used by the armed forces in, for example, Vietnam and Korea, greatly actually, alongside with some glycines, which are also well known for it. But the Hamilton was always a core watch for the US Army. Now, as I said in the beginning of the video, I wasn't able to find the exact models which were shown in your collection, so I found a picture of the white dial version of the glycine ENGO Neve wristwatch, so I hope that'll give a good indication, good description of what the watch looks like. Now, this watch really does have a history. It's from 1942, as you say. The one in the photograph is a 1944 version. I don't believe there are any changes, though, between the 2 years. As you say, this does have an interesting Felser 465 movement, which I imagine is rather difficult to service and maintain, because a lot of these parts aren't made anymore. Either way, though, this is a very elegant and an attractive watch, and really does represent the era where sports field and dress watches were combined into one in these very legible and very attractive timepieces. Now, again, I've been unable to find a photograph of this 1950s Larco, but it is a very beautiful piece in the black which you have it. And you say that you bought this watch to satisfy your want for a Larco Flieger, a pilot's watch. But if I'm honest, I think this is a very elegant watch in its own right. And it is always nice to have an old watch from the 50s, especially a gold one like this one. Also, those lugs, which can be seen on both these models, are very distinctive to Larco, and are rarely seen on other wristwatches. I mean, Omega had a very similar design on their early Seamasters, but not quite as elegant design as these. So I'd say this is a very attractive dress watch, and one to consider before getting rid of. Now, this next watch is a watch which actually I saw for sale in a shop a while back, and really considered buying, because these are Elgin Type A 11s, and these are pilot's watches at base, but are very attractive, and I must say do look very very nice on that canvas. I think it's a NATO. I can't quite see. I think it's a NATO you've put it on. I must say that really does complement the watch very well. Now, you say yours isn't working, and that is a real shame, because these watches are very pretty and very much something of the time. Now, this next watch, I'm afraid I couldn't find any photograph for, because I simply couldn't find a similar watch from Viceroy. But it's the black watch in the left-hand corner, and I must say, if you like wearing this watch, then that's fine. Frankly, I have no objections to someone enjoying a watch, but I would say Viceroy aren't really worth the money. Now, in my opinion, these are just sort of fashion watches with no real horological value. So I'd be very careful when buying this sort of watch. But heck, if you like it, then that's fine. Who am I to criticise someone's taste? I mean, heaven knows there are things which I'm not very tasteful about. Now, this next watch is quite an interesting one. It's a Citizen Eco Drive, and it's a chronograph version with a very sort of classic look, which I think looks very attractive with that chocolate dial. And this chocolate dials really are becoming more popular recently, and I think really do add a sort of elegance to a watch which hasn't been seen in sort of more harsh tones like black or white. Now, the interesting thing about Citizen Eco Drive watches is they are solar powered, so they're able to take in energy via the dial, and therefore don't really ever need a battery change, which I must say is a real advantage to these watches, and I respect them a lot. Now, the next watch in your collection is the Seiko SKX 013. So that's the sort of mid-size SKX, and I personally love this watch. These watches are quite small. They're smaller at 37 or 38 mils, depending on where you measure them from. But they have quite a long lug length, so they wear comfortably on most wrists while having that smaller size, which is again makes them possible to be worn by smaller wristed people as well. Now, a lot of people give these watches some flack because they are the little brother to the SKX 007 and 009. But I must say, I think they don't deserve this, because they are very attractive watches in their own right, and I am considering buying myself one, actually, because they are just so nice. Now, this next watch you have is the Seiko SKX 009, so that's the 42mm version of the SKX lineup, with the Pepsi bezel, and I must say this is also a classic. It really is a classic, and a beautiful watch. You were saying that you're considering selling this and keeping the 013, or vice versa, and they are both beautiful watches, and let's remember the 009 may well be being discontinued, so do consider that at length before actually selling it. Now, your next watch is the Vostok Amphibia 090 case, and this is, apart from the 110, my favourite Vostok Amphibia case, with those hooded lugs. This is a very attractive dive watch. Now, this one has by the looks of things, had a Seiko bezel insert installed, and you do say in your email, Marc, that that the changing of sort of different parts is quite good fun on this watch, and I don't doubt it. I really want to buy myself one of these too, and considering their relatively low cost, these are very accessible watches to many people, while also offering a sort of level of customization not seen elsewhere in watches. Now, this next watch is the 420 case type Vostok Amphibia, and this is the smallest of the Amphibia cases with the most discreet lugs. And this is a nice watch considering it still combines that technology seen in the Amphibia range of the two-piece case back, which compresses under pressure, and the 200 meter water resistance in a sort of a smaller package, which is a very appealing model for many people. Anyway, I'd like to thank Marc, my viewer, for sending me his collection. It was extremely kind of him, and really was a pleasure to review such an interesting collection. So thank you very much for that. Anyway, I'll end on the version of the Vostok Amphibia which is my favourite. So thank you very much for watching. This is I'm on the Watch Guy. Please do like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more on my channel. And don't hesitate to contact me at the email address in the description down below. So thank you very much for watching. Over and out.